I'm Dr. Karen Philbrick, and I'm the Executive Director of the Mineta Transportation Institute at San Jose State University. We established in 1991. We are a competitively selected university transportation center that's funded by the U.S. Department of Transportation and also by Senate Bill 1 here in the state of California. Within our capacity, we focus on four main areas, and that's surface transportation research, technology transfer, education, and workforce development. And today we're here to talk about workforce development primarily. So as many of you know, pre-COVID, the transportation agencies nationwide were experiencing an employment crisis, and we do expect that to continue. In fact, due to retirements, people changing careers due to other issues, recruitment and retention, we were expecting to fill about 460,000 positions on an annual basis nationwide. We're talking everything from the front lines to the C-suite. And what's critically important to develop that industry is to get kids excited about careers in transportation, to get them to consider joining our profession, which I think many of you know is multidisciplinary in nature, and many of us never set out for a career in this space, including myself as a psychologist. But what we do know is there's a position for everybody in every discipline. So as we talk today about Garrett Morgan's Sustainable Transportation Competition, I'd like to invite you at any point to ask questions or to put questions in the chat feature. That said, we'll also reserve some time at the end of our meeting to have a live Q&A. So why this competition, you may ask, and why dedicate your precious time to it? Well, Garrett Augustus Morgan, despite his humble beginnings as the son of slaves, with not even a complete high school education, went on to become a trailblazing inventor. Among his many accomplishments, he developed the modern three-way traffic signal that we are all accustomed to, and the first gas mask. And it is after this driven individual that this program is named. Now, this competition for middle school students was originally instituted by former Secretary of Transportation Rodney Slater. He wished to encourage young people to consider careers in transportation. We are the institute that continues this program. And in fact, we've hosted a competition every year since 2001. And to date, over 1,300 middle school students have participated, some going on to join the ranks of Caltrans and other transit agencies once they completed their scholastic endeavors. So we will be spending some time talking about the administrative details of the competition. But before we do that, we're going to screen a very short Caltrans newsflash that was published in 2019 on this program. And after that exciting commercial, if you will, we will hear from your director talking about the importance of workforce development. And then we'll hear from a couple of mentors who've actually participated in this program, and they would be best to address some of the questions and to really show our enthusiasm. So with that, I will ask Irma to screen that Caltrans Newsflash program, please.
I'm Elisa Becerra with the Caltrans Newsflash. We're talking engineering and education, and we're taking it to the classroom.
The sky is the limit for middle school students competing in the Garrett Morgan Sustainable Transportation Competition. From a drone that tackles traffic congestion.
Have you ever been stuck in traffic and wishing you could float above the cars? With our idea, you can.
To a car that runs on alternative fuel.
Our idea is to turn poop into energy and use the energy to power electric-powered vehicles.
Or how about an app that makes it easy for parents to carpool?
Eagle Ride is a carpool app to increase vehicle usage on the road and improve our environment.
Every year, Caltrans sponsors and mentors California middle school students. District engineers and other transportation professionals begin to assist the classes as they prepare their projects for the competition.
Programs such as the Garrett Morgan Sustainable Transportation Competition are exciting, They're innovative. It's an opportunity to introduce our middle school students to careers and opportunities in transportation.
Garrett Morgan was an African-American inventor credited with creating everything from a smarter sewing machine to the gas mask. But most of us are familiar with his invention, the 3-signal stoplight. Now 7 middle schools across the country signed up to be challenged to be like Morgan, come up with a solution to an emerging transportation problem.
Well, it shows that they're thinking about them today. At this young age, they know there's an issue, they know there's a problem, and they've come up with an idea as to how to help correct it.
Doing research, we found a lot about, how much pollution is caused by cars, and we really wanted to work on that. And I think we did a really good job.
So good, they took first place. Montessori Capital's Eagle Ride, a school-scale mobility app, garnered them $1,000 for their classroom and an all-expense-paid trip to the Minetta Transportation Institute Awards banquet. Remember the alternative fuel? MacArthur Fundamental Intermediate School came in second place with the Poo-mobile, followed by Sutter Middle School with their project DART 916. This has been Elisa Becerra with the Caltrans News Flash.
Thank you for screening that, Irma. I think you can see that there's a lot of enthusiasm around this program. And very importantly, these young students really have a chance to flex their innovative muscle. And the winners are actually brought, when we can have in-person events, to San Jose. They are featured in a banquet with over 300 professionals, including our elected officials, and given the opportunity to say a few words. We think this is a very exciting program, but to talk more about how meaningful it is, I'd like to turn to Director Tokes Omishakin. Tokes, would you kindly share a few words?
Thank you, Dr. Philbrick. Good afternoon, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. Thank you, Dr. Philbrick, for inviting me to share a little bit of my quick thoughts on your program, this program, and how our team can help be a better part of it as we continue this what I think is a great partnership. What you are doing, Dr. Philbrick, I'll say real quick, in organizing so many members of our transportation community to continue to push the envelope on many fronts and improve the partnership between not only institutions, but the public sector and the private sector. I think it's such important work. So thanks for what you're doing. Continue to push us along. Before I share some specific comments about this program, I think I'll be remiss without starting with the big picture about sort of where we are right now as a country, and sort of tie that into why we're on this call today, why we're at this meeting today. Without getting into a lot of detail, and regardless of what side of the aisle, so to speak, you're on, the events that we saw yesterday, what transpired yesterday, are events that no doubt, again, they kind of, those events wake you up. They hit you in the heart. And it makes you sort of rethink every time we have something major like that happen, that is a part of history. And we've had a lot of them in the last year here. In the last 12 months, we've had so much history happen that all of us can recount. But again, another one yesterday, you can't help but stop and think like, okay, what can I do to help make sure that the future doesn't continue to look like this? There's nothing wrong with us having differing opinions and differing ideas. This 245-year-old experiment, they call it a democracy. I don't call it an experiment, but that's what it's called. I think it was founded based on the fact that it's okay for people to have, a different outlook on issues, but that at the end of the day, the people's voice matters. So when we think about the future, that's what this program is really about. And we continue to have an opportunity through this program to show the next generation that their voice matters. The things that they create and build matters. And transportation is just one of several key areas. I'm biased, obviously. I think it's one of the most important areas to help establish a great future for this country. And our kids, my kids, so I've got two kids, one a preteen, one is already just turned a teen. They saw what happened yesterday, and they were looking at everything that happened, and they were asking me questions. They were saying, what in the world is going on? Why did they do this, Dad? Why did they do that, Dad? And it's some of it's hard to explain. How we can get to that place. But this effort, this program, to be more specific, I think creates an opportunity for our team, and obviously the MTI team who's sponsored and led this, to continue to create opportunities for our kids to see how they can influence and shape the future in a great way. Not just on transportation, but we're so heavily focused on sustainability and climate now because we're seeing the residues of the mistakes that we've made in transportation, how we became so heavily focused on just the single occupancy vehicle. We're seeing the results of that, the remnants of that. And we can continue to urge and inspire the next generation to see how they can create and shape a better future, and not necessarily what we saw transpire yesterday. And so I'm grateful that our team has been supportive of this over the years. Dr. Philbrick, I think when we first met last year, you mentioned this to me, and I got pretty excited about just the idea. If COVID wasn't happening, I know we probably would be sitting in a room talking about this. And I would love to engage our team and that next generation whenever that opportunity presents itself on how we can continue to do more in this space. So thanks to you, Dr. Philbrick, again, and the MTI team. I did not know Secretary Slater was the one who came up with this. He's a mentor of mine. He's somebody that I turn to occasionally. Yeah, once or twice a year, we have a get together, and he's inspired me so much over the years. So it's good to know that Secretary Slater is directly associated with this program, and I look forward to our team continuing to support it. And I'll do whatever I can to help support this as well, because it's absolutely about creating that better future. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for those sobering comments. I myself have goosebumps, and you remind me of the challenges that we're facing, but also the opportunities that exist and how we can come out the other side and continue to work hard to make sure that people have access to what they need, the things we eat, the things we do to improve the mobility of people and goods, all while we try to make sense of what's happening. Thank you. Thank you for those comments and for that support.
Absolutely. Dr. Philbrick, by the way, I know you have an agenda. I just want to see if anybody has any quick question of me. And do you want me to stay on, or I can run? But if you have a question or anybody has a question, I don't want to derail your time, but I'll take any.
Oh, we understand how busy you are. So let's open the floor right now so that you can go on with your day. Anybody have any questions for Director Tokes while we have him? Well, I've just got one. We are hoping that we can feature you as a select speaker so that our student participants can learn from someone in the field who works on these issues day to day. Would that be possible, Director Tokes?
You've got a lot of Caltrans staff that I'm looking at up here that I'm sure would be willing to do it. But absolutely, if you need me, Dr. Philbrick, I'll be glad to help. When I say that, I'm sincere about that. Whatever role you want me to play, just let me know. But make use of our great team as well, if somebody's interested in doing something like that. But absolutely, count me in wherever you want me to.
Thank you so much. And you have a wonderful and safe day. We appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Well, that was very exciting. And to that end, as we talk about the participants, we have a lot of enthusiasm from across the nation for this program. So while this information session is really focused on Caltrans and trying to get you excited to potentially serve as mentors, we typically have teams that join us from Mississippi, from Washington, D.C., from states in between, and we bring people together for the actual competition, which incidentally, retired Secretary of Transportation Norman Mineta always addresses our students, and we've been fortunate to have every current Secretary of Transportation also participate in this program, including most recently Secretary Chow, prior to that, Secretary Fox and Secretary LaHood, et cetera. So everybody realizes how important and critical this discussion of workforce development is. Now, I'd like to turn to Marlon Flournoy, Division Chief in the Caltrans Division of Transportation Planning. He has been a participant in this program, and we're going to look to him to share some real experiences. Marlon, please take it away.
Great, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Yeah, when you think about it, transportation impacts every facet of our lives. How we travel to and from work. How we get our goods, taking our kids to daycare and school every day. How we recreate. And it's really important this program because getting more young people involved in transportation is really critical. It gives them an opportunity to maybe even start thinking about a career in transportation, as you had mentioned, Karen. And as part of the program, right, the teachers are partnering with their students to create sustainable transportation projects. And it gives them an opportunity to connect with leaders in the transportation sector. So it's a tremendous opportunity for them. When I was in District 3, I spearheaded the effort to get Caltrans staff interested in participating in this program. And we had both engineering and planning staff actually go into the schools, middle schools, and really work on some really exciting projects with the students. And not was it only a rewarding experience for our Caltrans staff, but it was absolutely invaluable for the students as they learned about different aspects of transportation that they wouldn't normally know about, whether it's safety, multimodal transportation, different innovations in transportation and all that stuff. And so, I think we're just really lucky in the way that this program can help get people interested. And even if they don't want to pursue a career in transportation, at least they're learning something about transportation. Maybe they're learning about how to be safer on a transportation system. We have a lot of lofty goals here in the department, whether it's reducing vehicle miles traveled or thinking more about equity. Maybe these kids can start thinking about some of those things and take those things with them as they move on to future careers and give them that perspective. And so I definitely encourage Caltrans staff to get involved if you can. This is just a very unique opportunity to really just make a difference. And I think we have a lot of talented people within this department that have a lot of information to share. And I think it will go a long way, for those that are interested to be able to pass that information on, whether it's through, just mentoring some of these teams in the classrooms or, either, just sharing some of their technical knowledge or their experience. But I do think it's really invaluable. And so I definitely endorse the program. And it's my goal to get, different functional areas across the department, involved, because I think we have a lot to share, whether it's from the planning realm, whether it's, construction, whether it's, design or traffic operations. There's just so many facets of transportation. And I think that's important for the kids to know. right? It's not about riding a bus, or it's not about just getting in a car. I mean, there's different aspects of it, and just being able to share that knowledge is important. So yeah, I'm definitely excited about this opportunity and happy to answer any questions that you guys have.
You know, Marlon, I just really appreciate those comments. I think I really want to underscore the importance of what you said, which is we don't really know what is going to excite them. And if you ask the general middle schooler to name a career in transportation, they're often hard pressed to go beyond bus driver or airline pilot, or some of our more common people that we see, really losing sight of people across the spectrum. And so thank you for making that point. I think it's very important. And for those of us who have joined us today, Irma will walk through the specifics on how to participate in this program. But before I turn it to Irma, I'd like to hear a few words from Tyler, who's actually served the last couple of years as a mentor to one of our middle school teams. Tyler, for those of you who may not know him, Tyler Monson is the Senior Transportation Planner with Caltrans Division of Research, Innovation, and Systems Information. I have the pleasure of working very closely with him on our research portfolio and our other workforce development initiatives. He's actually been the mentor for the winning team the last 2 years, and he's been able to see firsthand what this competition was like when we could have it in person, and also when we had to pivot to the virtual format, and would be a good person to ask questions to. Now, the winning team from 2020 did a project titled Fast, Easy, Smart, a sustainable AV plan for cities. And I would be surprised if some of the lessons they're teaching us aren't put into action. Tyler, can you share a little bit about your experience, please?
Yeah, and thank you for that introduction, Dr. Philbrick. Marlon talked a little bit about how present transportation is in our lives, and it always struck me that even though most people could tell you a little something about transportation, it's such a specialty in education, and starting with some of the basics early on could help students kind of look at that through different projects, looking at history, looking at science, looking at sociology in different ways. When I first heard about this program, I saw it as an opportunity to do something I had wanted to do for a long time, which is provide knowledge and experience to young people, help them understand more about the world around them through transportation. And then hopefully take that knowledge and apply it to whatever discipline they choose to pursue later in life. And maybe they might stumble into a career in transportation like most of us did, probably. I know some people were really specific about that, but even at UC Davis with Susan Handy as one of my professors, she got to transportation in a general planning class and said, that's pretty complicated. I don't know if you guys want to get into all of that right now. So, anyway, what might be kind of a banal detail or pretty rudimentary to us could be an amazing connection for a young person, could help them through the rest of their schooling. So I just want to talk a little bit about how I got started. It was daunting to think about the months of my attention and the hours of my time that would be committed to it. But it really all started with an email to the middle school teacher at my own kid's school. And there's a lot of ways to get started with it. It could be a school you're affiliated with, maybe the school you went to, a school in your area that's close to you. But finding that school is pretty important, because it does take some motivation on the part of the teachers and the students to get into it. And so while I was willing to team up with really any school in my area, I was lucky that I got their attention and were able to schedule out sometimes that I could come talk to the kids and build in time to work on the presentation itself. So a little bit about what I discussed with them, just starting with a baseline of information about transportation and how and why we interact with it. We progressed to concepts of sustainability how real innovations that they might be familiar with improve the transportation system. And talking about how and why they improve them, talking about things like accessibility, talking about things like the environmental impacts of transportation. And so with that baseline of knowledge, we switch gears to developing an innovative idea that the class proposed. And in that, novelty didn't seem as important as their engagement with it and them showing that they've learned something. So while I was looking for something like, wow, I've never heard of that before, it was kind of more like how can we develop it and show and demonstrate that they've learned something. And so it was quite a bit of effort to finish it out and polish the project, but we got through it. So last year, as we switched to working from home and the kids switched to distance learning, I wasn't sure the program was going to continue. But with a little bit of a connection with the teacher and finding out that they have video conferencing available, we're able to use that to complete the project and actually use Zoom to record our presentation and submit it. So that really it was a little challenging to get their attention and to keep it interesting for them remotely. But I think this year is probably going to be even a little bit better with them being more familiar with that distance learning approach and some innovations that you guys have come up with and how to improve the program. So definitely it's about inspiring the next generation and getting their attention right now through this baseline of information and real accomplishments. I think is a great way to do it.
Thank you so much, Tyler, for sharing your experience. I absolutely believe that it will be much easier than when we had to pivot earlier this year. Because recall, things closed on March 16th, I think it was, and school districts were scrambling. They didn't have the IT infrastructure to help support those learning needs. And now, at least in my area, our unified school districts are still all on remote learning, but they now have the technology and some of the equipment to make that a little bit more seamless. So hopefully that will help things go a little smoother. Before I turn it to Irma to walk us through the specifics, I see that somebody just from iPhone had a question on why it's named after Garrett Morgan. One thing, I never mentioned intersections, so I can't speak to your question on that, but I would be happy if you'd like to provide your email address to have a conversation with you offline, because I'm conscious that we only have like 2 minutes left on our clock today. So if the person who posted that comment would like to put either their phone number or email address into the chat feature, that would be welcome. Irma leads our workforce development programs for MTI and is going to briefly walk you through the logistics. Take it away.
Okay, so I know we're a little pressed for time, but I'm going to get to kind of the nitty-gritty of the process of competing. So on our MTI website, you'll find a little bit of background information as to the program and its origins, which we've already covered here. So we'll jump right into here's how it works. And what you'll see here is that you have a step-by-step process of the timeline, and that'll really help you kind of stay on track so that the students submit their 7 to 10 minute video presentation on time, which this year is due April 9th, 2021. So while that seems like plenty of time, you've definitely got a broad range of topics that you can explore just within those months and during that time period. Along with their $50 stipend, there's also other resources on this page that can be explored. And that includes a teacher's guide, which is full of different activities or projects that can be done. A few of them are remote, so you could potentially adapt them for distance learning. Some may not be quite as available just because we are in this new virtual environment, but it does have a lot of topics that may inspire students all the way and different engineering topics to water power topics. And really, it's a great resource to make use of if your students maybe during your brainstorming session don't render as many topics as you would have hoped for. There's also the scoring rubric, which is really, really useful in terms of making sure that students see what the judges are going to be looking for during their presentation. Also on this page, you see the cash prizes, which is a really great way to start the conversation with the students, telling them how much money they can win for their school, and that essentially there are no limitations to what the school or classroom chooses to do with these funds. We don't ask for a report in return, so it's really up to them. And again, the resources that we have available for you in addition to these is we have the Zoom capability. So if there's any issues with trying to schedule these meetings with the students, we'd be happy to facilitate. In addition to that, we know that video editing may not come naturally to you or to the students. So we have a couple of staff members here at MTI who would likely love this type of project and to help you out with just kind of polishing or refining the video that you do want to submit and kind of wow the judges that way. I feel like most students now, though, are probably a little bit familiar with videos with TikTok taking over the world. So keep that in mind as you talk to the kids. But really a great opener to the conversation that you'll have with these students to really generate those ideas is giving them a background look at what you've done and what aspects of transportation you have an expertise in. And then just letting them throw their ideas out as to what problems they see, what type of solutions they may be thinking about. I know that with the rise of autonomous vehicles, there's a really big interest there. Drones are really big, and these are just new emerging technologies that I think they could really run with. So we love creativity. We encourage, demonstrations, skits, animations in their videos. Really tap into the resources that the students have to offer. And then as far as the housekeeping part of this, you'll see that we have ready to participate here. And these are the forms that need to be turned in order to participate. So there's the registration form, the project entry form, and a release form, just because we do record these videos and share them with the judges. So these are all Google forms, super easy and accessible. No more needing to print things out like we did in the past. Tyler can probably speak to the headache of that in the past. So really welcoming you all to participate in this and hopefully get some students excited. I know that distance learning has been challenging, but hopefully this type of project will get them a little bit more motivated for something different.
Well, thank you, Irma. I'm very conscious of the time. And so Irma and I are available to stay on the line to answer any questions and would love to just chat with all of you, but understand if you have other competing demands. So I will simply close by saying thank you, truly thank you for spending a half an hour with us. Your willingness to participate reminds me actually that where human beings are concerned, the difference between having and lacking mobility is no less than the difference between having and lacking opportunity. So consider joining us, and we bid you farewell for those of you who need to say goodbye at this time. Thank you again. Now, Deanna, are you going to stay on for a minute?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, perfect.
Exciting.
And Tor is your husband, is that
He's my husband. He's in another room.
Tyler, Tor is actually a middle school teacher, and Deanna is one of our partners through our Senate Bill 1 consortium, hailing from Long Beach, and she does a lot of work in workforce development, and they wanted to hear about this today to see if there's any synergy or opportunity to participate from the Southern region. What did you think, Tor, as a middle school teacher?
Well, I was just about to type a little chat message here. It's been really helpful, and I coach a robotics team and have them as an elective class, and I think it would be a perfect thing to involve them in because we're kind of at a loss for robotics projects right now, and it sounds like this would be a really exciting thing for them to be doing. So
yes.
I look forward to being involved here.
Well, thank you so much. I don't know if I'm just sensitive today, but I've got my goosebumps again, hearing that you want to be involved and you've got a robotics club. I think that's terrific. And for anybody else that's on the line still, did you have any questions? Okay. Well, thanks for your time, guys. It was really great to see you.
Thank you. And if anyone has any questions, I'm the primary contact for the program, so please feel free to reach out. My name and information is on that page I just shared with you, on the flyer as well that went out. So please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to answer any questions.
And Karen and Irma, before we go, if there's any interested mentors still on the line here, I wanted to underscore the importance of reaching out to a teacher now, you know, getting their attention, letting them know about the opportunity. A lot of them have already set their curriculum and their schedule for this year, but most probably be willing to get a little bit of help from somebody and a little change of pace, and get some assistance from you guys in participating in the program. So yeah, I mean, Irma and Karen are really helpful in getting things started. Really, the first step is connecting with that school. And so if you're interested in being a mentor, but you don't have a school that you are associated with, maybe they could help pair you with one. Or if there is a school you want to reach out to, don't hesitate. Just let them use that flyer, and talk about what you want to bring to it, because there's no set rubric. You can participate as much or as little as you want.
That's exactly right. And thank you for underscoring that, Tyler. And we can certainly help any interested mentors get hooked up with a school. So we definitely want to make sure we offer our support every single step of the way. And I have to say, just some of the kids are so inspiring. I had a young lady participate when we were in person in 2019, and she actually came up to me and said that she was very shy when this program started, and that she didn't really want to talk, didn't really want to participate, but through those small exchanges and the mentoring process, she started to find her own voice and talked about how the program was meaningful for her self-development in that other capacity, which I think when we have the opportunity to engage with professionals and take those students outside their normal experience, they can see what is possible. And I think that's another unspoken value. And then, of course, we were talking with Tyler, Liz Rodriguez, and Lisa Franco about the program, and they came up with the idea for this information session, but importantly, also including some professional development along the way for the middle school participants. And what I mean by that is the opportunity to participate in webinars and information exchanges with people who are in their career, who are actively working, so that they just get a taste for more of that professional side of things as well.
Perfect. Thank you, Karen and Irma. I appreciate you guys coming on, to giving them feedback. So, people ask questions, we're here for them, and, we could still promote it somehow, but I appreciate you guys taking this time to do this.
You bet, Lisa. Great idea. So thanks for that. All right, everybody, I bid you farewell and Happy New Year.